join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Kim, if you would take note that all three supervisors are here. Before we get to public comment, our County Commissioner Alice Yoder is here. She's going to give us, I'm told, a brief discussion piece.
You gave me 2 hours? Is that
Yeah,
okay?
that's fine.
Okay.
That's fine.
Glad.
I was told it was 3, but 2's fine.
Okay, sure. Thank you. Yeah, well, thank you. Glad to be here, and I want to stay for part of your meeting, too. I'm trying to make some of my rounds around the county, too. And we'll answer any questions you might have as well, so feel free to think about some questions you have. But just very briefly, I thought I'd just give you an update on some key things that might be helpful for you to know. Hopefully you're aware that we're building a new prison in Lancaster County. You all are aware more than most other municipalities. Some municipalities are still a little surprised. But we're in the design development phase right now, and everything's looking pretty good. There's a good possibility within the next several weeks, certainly within the month, that we may move along with the design development plan with the hopes of being able to have groundbreaking by the end of this calendar year still. So we're really focused on that and hoping that will happen. I think there was a point when we were talking about add alternates in the plan. All of them are built into the current plan. So you can go to the Lancaster County Correctional Facility, if you just Google that separate website will come up and you can see the specific plans that are listed up there, detail of how things look. And you might be more familiar with, as I mentioned, because of where it's located than most others. But all the plans are in there. I think one of the things I wanted to point out when I talk about the add alternates is central booking. So central booking is included in the plan as is, with the hopes that currently the prison runs central booking during the day, during the week, that space will be available, but it will also be adequate space, because I know some of the chief of polices around the county are also interested in that central booking concept that we can move forward with. So that's in the plan right now, so you may want to check it out. If you have any questions about that now or some other time, just feel free to email me. I'm excited about it. I'm particularly focused on the mental well-being pieces, the ability to provide health and mental health services and wellness services, as well as things related to addiction and rehab in those areas. So there's adequate space to be able to do a lot of that, so feel really good about that. Second thing I just wanted to give you an update on is the county is also working with the Lancaster County Redevelopment Authority on a homelessness and housing strategic plan for the county. It's countywide. I'm not sure how much of that is an issue for all of you, but we're looking at the intersection of homelessness, and we are using the definition of the school districts. So we're basically looking at students that are unhoused as well, and the idea about someone sleeping in their car, sleeping on someone's sofa, as opposed to the housing and urban development, the HUD definition, which is a little bit more restricted. As a county-wide coming together, as we're working on the strategic plan, we're looking at that broader definition. And how do we think about this more boldly to really address this issue in a significant way, knowing that it's beyond a city issue. I'm down in Quarryville, up in Denver area, and Ephrata area, out in Columbia, Marietta, Manheim Central, and they're all talking about homelessness as an issue, and it could be 5 people, it could be 10 people, but how do we address this issue overall? And of course, that's that intersection of prevention of homelessness all the way to supportive and stable housing. And that's where some of the zoning regulations and some of that we're looking at from a municipality standpoint on how do we build perhaps smaller homes, smaller properties, some way to be able to do that. So either rental or owning a home is affordable for some people as they move through the issue related to being unhoused to housed, and a lot of those individuals are actually working. Sometimes if you go to a coffee shop, you might realize that the person on the other side of the counter is actually unhoused or sleeping on someone's couch or in their car at night. So we're looking at that intersection of workforce housing as well, working closely with the High Foundation. We've heard about some of the work that they're doing. So that's all connected there. So that's the second thing. Again, if you have any more questions about that, feel free to just email. We can meet to talk about it or whatever works. The other piece you're likely familiar with, but I just wanted to bring it to your attention because I'm pretty excited about this one too. I'm excited about all of these, but the Lancaster County Parks and Trails Master Plan. So all of you, it's closed for formal public comments, but you could still connect with Mike Doman. Everyone seems to know Mike Doman, trails person. You could just his email is doman@lancastercountypa.gov. And if you want to actually talk about the plan further, if you didn't get a chance to give comment, still open for comments and all. But at this point, the official comments online is closed. So that's the Parks and Trails Master Plan. So we're excited about that. And the last thing is, this is always near and dear to my heart. So when you have an emergency, a medical emergency or fire, what number do you call? 911. What about if you're feeling depressed or you have somebody that you're concerned about from a mental health standpoint, what number do you call?
988.
Yay! Who said that? Who was it? Oh, Tom, I thought it came from over here. Okay. Well, I brought these cards too. So if you don't have these in the township office, we have them available at the county, and you can get these for free. They're free. I have a stack of them for you.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah,
Appreciate
and
it.
I encourage you all to take a couple, keep them in your wallet, keep them in your car, because that's 988, 24/7. It's a county service, and they have people that are specially trained that will answer the phone, actually also going out into the community as well to work with individuals. And it's typically known as a crisis line, but how do you define crisis too? We're really encouraging people that you have any concern. I know of a couple of people just last week that approached me at a meeting, came up later and said they called the number because they were concerned about a neighbor. They weren't sure what to do. They were thinking that they were acting differently and they weren't sure how to approach it. And so if in doubt, just really encourage people around a mental health issue, anything along those lines. So it could be anxiety, depression, stress, and it also can be something related to substance use disorder. So it could be that co-occurring as well. So anything along those lines, if you need help with thinking about scripting, what do you say, what do you do, don't hesitate and call. So really feel strongly about that. It's not as well known as 988. We want to get to the point where everybody's yelling out when 911 and then a 988 as well. So that's all I wanted to go over. Just those are some of the highlights that I was thinking. I knew you knew a few of those, but those are some of the other areas that might be helpful. Any questions for me?
Thank you. No, thank you.
No? You're okay.
Great.
All right, I'm just stay for a little bit. Okay?
Please.
All right, thank you.
All right. Do we have any public comment on agenda items?
On agenda?
On agenda items only at this point. All right. Secretary's report. Any issues, gentlemen?
Nope.
Treasurer's report.
All right, we got 2 reports, one for December, one for January. Lost it. All right, let's start with December. The December general fund investment escrow and liabilities, $7,663,120.97. Highway 8 fund, $1,082,513.06. Capital reserve fund, $2,216,106.26 for a total December balance of $10,961,740.30.
We will file that for audit.
Monthly bills, the general fund total is $465,830.90. The escrow fund total is $5,302.50. The state highway fund total is $60,368.36. The capital reserve fund total $143,012.00 for the monthly bills of December 1st through December 31st, 2025. For total bills of $674,513.76. I make a motion to pay the bills for December.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to pay December's bills. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 January, general fund investments, escrow and liabilities, January, $7,114,023.36. Highway 8 fund, $1,071,023.12. Capital reserve fund, $2,244,838.74 for a total January balance of $10,429,885.22.
We will file that for audit.
Monthly bills, January 1st, 2026 through January 31st, 2026. General fund total, $648,180.13. Escrow fund, $2,844.84. State highway fund, total $13,553.35. Capital reserve fund, total $353.41 for total bills of $664,931.73. Mr. Chairman, make a motion that we pay January's bills.
Second. Been moved and seconded to pay January's bills. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Reports. Lafayette Fire Company, which covers the east side of the township. Month of January, they responded to 4 calls on our behalf. Lancaster Township Fire Department, west side.
For the month of January, we had a total of 55 calls in the township. One of those of significance was 212 South President Avenue. We had a small fire on the second floor. We're very fortunate. Passerby noticed flames coming from the building, called 911. We were able to make a quick response and put the fire out with minimal damage. There was still some smoke and water damage, but John Donnelly condemned the house because of the damage. What we're seeing now is we're ending the previous fiscal year's grant cycle, and we're looking at grants through the National Fire Academy and the State Fire Academy. We have applied to the State Fire Academy's grant for debt reduction, and we see no indication of why we should not be awarded that, so that'll be a nice addition to the revenue. A process we started almost 4 years ago is coming to an end. The replacement of our engine 1. We'll be going to Wisconsin next week to do the final inspection, and hopefully bringing that piece of apparatus east. So, with that being said, we have reached out to Chris Janet Fire Company, who is purchasing our old engine 1, and began conversations with them, setting up the financials to get that vehicle transferred to their name. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. The recycling report for January, 18.31%, and all of the reports, safety committee meetings, sewer reports are available at Township office and on the website, can be viewed and printed. Workshop reports, planning and zoning, John Donnelly is not here. Do you want to do that now, or when you?
John just wanted me to share mainly that his focus has been on compliance with the snow ordinance. He's asking folks who haven't already cleared their sidewalks to do the best they can to open up sidewalks, handicap ramps and intersections. He's been going around trying to encourage people to do that and where necessary, enforcing the ordinance.
Mm-hmm. Great. Township engineer, Mr. Weber.
Good evening. As you might expect, a lot of construction site work is slowed down with the cold weather, but some of the house construction just continues apace amazingly. At Southern Village, we keep getting building permit applications and new starts out there, so that is definitely moving along. Took care of several of the annual reports that are needed to get done to several of the agencies that we do those for. Other than that, working on a slug of plans that are coming down the pipeline. That's all I have to report.
Public Works, Mr. Groff.
Good evening. A couple of highlighted items from my report there is we've continued to work on the Woody Way site, which you have something before you tonight as well. Been having great conversations with the rec, moving forward with a few things with them, continued conversations on a bunch of stuff. We had started prior to the snowstorm, started the installation of a new playground at St. Joe's Park. So that has been put on hold due to the snow. Obviously, you've seen the photos there. You experienced Winter Storm Fern. We managed through that one. Special thanks to the police department. John Donnelly isn't here, but he stepped up and came in and helped plow alleys. So it was a great operation. We were able to successfully manage that storm with minimal issues. And then, yeah, I think that's all I have for you tonight.
Great.
Yeah, if you have any questions.
No for me. Great, thank you. Police?
For the month of January, the department responded to 370 calls for service, 34 crashes with 0 fatal injuries, 45 traffic citations were issued, 1 written warning was issued. We arrested people for 12 misdemeanor felony offenses. 3 of those were DUI arrests, and 5 non-traffic citations were also issued for the month. We have 0 incidents of overdose or other fatalities.
Great.
And 0 cars were towed for the snow emergency, so that worked out.
Oh, great, excellent. Great, thank you very much. Township Manager, Mr. Levine.
There's a few things on your agenda that might be more appropriate to talk to when we get to those specific line items, but just as a 30,000-foot view, pre-Popeyes is on your agenda. You may recognize this. They were in and approved. We were all excited because we all love Popeyes chicken. They then expired, had to resubmit, went through the process again, and they're back before this board for approval of a land development plan. So if that seems odd, it is a bit unusual. And then we have 2 issues that have to do with the Public Works building. One is the approval of the land development plan, and we'd like you to continue to move forward on that. We think it's a good plan, and we hope that at some point in the future, we'll be able to build it according to that plan. The other has to do with the bids and the financing, and we can talk about that a little bit more when we get to that portion of the meeting. But that's one that we're probably not in a position to pass at this point. And then the other big issue, and the one that I've listed on your agenda, is the tree data. There seems to be, I spent a lot of time thinking about this since December's meeting. There seems to be a disconnect between a number of folks in the community who genuinely have an interest in protecting the trees in Lancaster Township, and we have a staff and a board that has the same interest in protecting the trees in the township. But there continues to be a disconnect between both parties, and I'm still not completely sure what that is. I think maybe there's a difference in the sense of urgency, or the difference in the sense of conditions, because we feel fairly confident the policies and procedures we have in place have been effective. And we feel that provides us a little bit of a time frame in which to drill down into the data and to continue to make changes to what we do and how we do it if necessary. So I thought what might be helpful tonight is, as we've pulled up some of this tree data in preparation for doing a more robust canopy assessment, I'll let you know where we are, and that might explain to some folks why we have a far lesser sense of urgency than they might. Because I think what the data shows is what we do and how we do it has been successful. So I asked Tony to put this up on the board, and I won't belabor this, but and I want to start by saying I recognize that this isn't super detailed, that I'm not claiming that this is complete by any stretch of the imagination, but at our first blush, I think the numbers that come back kind of affirm what we all assumed internally to be true. So some of the cities that have been brought up as examples to follow, or have done canopy assessments, or have an aggressive or an assertive approach towards protecting and maintaining trees, are Lancaster City, Carlisle, Pottstown, and Westchester. And you can see the percentage numbers you see there are canopy percentage, what percentage from an aerial view is covered by tree canopy. And those numbers vary, as you can see there, between 19 and 26%. Those are good numbers. Those are not bad numbers. I mean, you can imagine in an urban environment where you have high density residential development, you have a lot of impervious, you have a lot of roads, that it becomes a real challenge for cities and urban areas, and we share some of those characteristics to be able to find opportunities to plant trees. I would put us in what's sometimes referred to as a first ring community, urban bleeding out into suburban, which has some of the same sort of housing stock and challenges that the cities have, but a little more space, a little bit more room, a little more housing type that provides opportunities for planting. And when we take a look at those first ring communities, and I would put us amongst those, you'll see they kind of pick up where the cities left off. And Manheim Township, East Hempfield, and East Lampeter Township are probably the closest thing to us. As we move further out into the suburbs, West Hempfield, Manor Township, Millersville, now you're into truly a suburban environment. And typically, the recommendation for most of the environmental groups is you want to have at least 30% coverage. And you see, as we start getting further into the suburbs, you've seen these communities get to that 30% mark because they have the advantages to do so, and in many cases, they have the desire to do so. Lancaster Township's at 42.71%. Despite sharing some of the same characteristics as first ring communities and urban communities, we like to believe, just hold that there for a second, we like to believe that our commitment to the environment is shown in this chart here, and that is these are the metro area communities listed here, and you'll see that Lancaster Township is only eclipsed by Conestoga Township, which is about as rural as they come for Lancaster County. And we even find ourselves being ahead of Peckway, which I don't think anybody would characterize as anything different than rural. So, you know, this isn't the be-all and end-all of the value of tools that we're looking at, and it doesn't tell a full picture, but I think it definitely shows that we're not in distress. We are not in a position where we need immediate action or to radically change the way we do things. So Tony, just to give you a little more of a sense here, here is from left to right, you'll see the total area of the township, and then you'll see the canopy and percentage impervious and plantable area percentages. I'd ask you to just really focus for now on the canopy. I don't put a lot of stock in the 2001 data. I don't think LiDAR was accurate enough, and I have a hard time believing that we were ever in a spot where we had only 19% tree coverage, or canopy coverage. But 2011 is where most folks, like Lancaster City themselves, use much of the 2011 data in developing their policies and procedures. And I think that's probably getting a little more accurate. You'll see in 2011, we had 31.9% percentage canopy cover. And then once we get to 16 and 21, we're up into the 40s. Now you'll see there's a little dip between 2016 and 2021, and I'm gonna assume that both those numbers are, if not completely accurate, then relatively accurate. And we'll talk about in the next couple of slides where some of those dips come from. This is further broken down by census group. These are all the census areas in Lancaster Township. And again, we'll go to the canopy, acres and percentage of canopy coverage, and you'll see that at best, we have some sections of the neighborhood, like Schoolhouse Road down along the bridge is at 55% coverage. President Avenue, I think, is the other one, might be in there somewhere. It might be phrased differently. Where is it? In the 50s. We have a couple places that are approaching 50%. Conestoga Gardens and School Lane Hills, that would be the President Avenue corridor going up into North School Lane Hills. In any case, go to the next slide if you would, Tony. That data turned into a map, gives a visual representation of a few different things. This one is canopy change. This is when we saw a short dip from 2016 to 2021. Where did we lose trees? Where did we lose the tree canopy? And you'll see shaded in pink where those areas are. On the east side, north of King Street and south of King Street, and you'll see, you know, any place that's not green, which would also be a little area along School Lane Hills where it borders Southwest End Avenue. Everything else in Lancaster Township is green, so that's seen a positive change, and the negative change has been in those three census tracts. Next slide. This is priority areas. Where areas of concern where trees are needed or we have an abundance of trees. You'll see that Lancaster Township almost exclusively is clear, and that shows that we're above that 30% canopy coverage or better, except again in a couple of areas, that little corridor I'm going to show this little corridor right here, which is Atkins and Spencer. And again, here north of King Street on the east side, right around Burroughs Elementary School. Tony? All these slides I'm going to show you are going to have this same theme because they're all based on canopy and they're either measured against economics or impervious or heat maps. We have a bunch of different versions, but they're all really, this is impervious area. Tony, go to the next one. Again, canopy coverage, we see light colored areas and areas that were really healthy, and we see a couple areas where we can kind of use some improvement. But again, when we're talking about improvement, we're right up against that 30%. But in order to get us above the 30% and closer to 50%, those are the areas that we want to stay focused on. Next slide. Okay, so this is, we've been talking about canopy, and I think that it would be easy to say where there's not canopy, there's pavement. But I brought up the zoning map to show a couple of things. In the areas where we don't have a strong canopy, I think to some degree it's by design. So if you can go back one slide, Tony. This is an area of concern, this is an area of concern for having a lack of canopy. But if you go forward to this slide, you'll see we're looking at this area here, right? So even though we don't have a canopy, this is Wheatland Junior High, this is the park, this is the wooded area between the park and Wheatland. This is green space, and it's serving a specific purpose. It's not covered in trees, but we don't want it necessarily covered in trees. This is the shopping center. This is our limited amount of commerce that we have, and this is a cemetery. We're not going to get a lot of trees there. The east side, commercial, industrial, high-density residential development. Again, the form kind of follows the zoning, and if we're going to have mixed use, if we're going to have some commercial, if we're going to have some industrial, and we're going to want some green space that's open for athletic fields, or in this case, the use for a cemetery, then there's going to have to be a trade-off in those areas where we're not going to see trees, or we got to be thoughtful about where we put trees in those areas. And you know, in terms of zoning, form and function follow each other. So I go ahead. In the few areas where we've seen a dip, I wanted to explore why we saw a dip in those areas, why we lost trees, where we lost trees, and what we're doing about. So this is one of the areas, and if you'll notice, we have the construction of Smith Waddell School, and we have the construction of the water tower. Both of those things necessitated some clearing in order to get those things built, and that's, at least in this specific area, that's where we know that we lost trees. That was by design, it was part of the land development process, and we have protections in place to try to re-establish those trees in that same general census area. Next slide. This is an extension down further of that same area. You know, in the last slide, the shopping center was at the bottom part, and now it moves up. This is that same corridor. We also had a clearing. Oh, go back, please. In the southern part of this, down around Kensington Club and Hamilton Elementary School, we removed a ton of trees. But if you'll remember, that was to reestablish a failed basin for stormwater quality, and Ben did a great job of raising whatever, $400,000, Ben?
Yeah.
And fulfilled our MS4 stormwater quality requirements for the next 10 years. So again, in some of these cases, we're losing canopy, but for a beneficial use somewhere else. Tony, next slide, please. And this is an example of what we do when the water tower came in and we lost those trees and the school district put in Smith Waddell. The protections that we have through the subdivision and land development process identified where the trees were lost and identified those areas where we most likely or most successfully can see the reestablishment of the trees. The next slide, I think, lists these are the trees we're losing, these are the trees that are being replaced, this is the diameter inch, so we get some sort of equivalent. And while that may not be reflected between 2016 and 2021, our expectation is as these trees start to mature, that they get picked up on LiDAR and we see a return back to the numbers that we saw in 2016, or perhaps even see us exceed those numbers. I don't want to belabor this, but the east side is very similar. If you remember, Burroughs Elementary School is going through their process. The city did their operations center in this same time frame, so we are seeing some development on the east side, which is appropriate for both the zoning and the planning for those areas. And again, there's Burroughs Elementary School. We had some trees come down in the reconstruction, or the construction of that facility, and we have a plan in place, a landscaping plan, which will be implemented. And it might take 5 years or 10 years before those trees start to mature and come back online. But anytime we see trees taken down as part of the land development plan, we are aggressively requiring folks to reestablish those trees as close as possible to the place they've been taken down. And that's it. Again, there's a lot more work to do. We have come across some, I'll get to that in a second, folks. We have some other LiDAR tools that we think can drill down even further and get a little more granular. And none of this is addressing species at this point. Like, there's more work to do for sure, but there's been a little bit of a sense that like we have to get on this right away, and we are working on this and we are doing this, but like by and large, we're in a healthy position that allows us a little time to do this, the rest of the evaluation in a thoughtful way. And the last thing I'll say in regard to that is the data seems to come out every 5 years. The last data set we have is 2021. So my expectation is sometime in 2026, we should see a new data set to see if indeed we are trending in the right direction, or if perhaps we've missed something along the way. So I know some folks had their hands raised. I don't know if you want to have good information. Entertain questions.
Yeah, we can do it now. If you want to come up, say name and address, the podium.
My name is Jill Craven, and I live on Wheatland Avenue in School Lane Hills. And I am part of the tree group, so I wanted to talk about what the tree group is concerned about, because it concerns me that we've been in discussions for 2 years with Lancaster Township, and it seems like you're not really getting what our concern is. Our concern is trees in the right-of-way, trees that are in that green space between the street and the sidewalk. And what happened, apparently, this was before I was involved in the group, was that people were forced to take down trees in the right-of-way. And they didn't want to do that, and that happened in School Lane Hills. That didn't happen to me. I wasn't part of the group then. But next time, I would like to ask for trees to be on the discussion and the agenda, and we'll have part of our group here so the people who had that experience can speak for themselves. We really appreciate the tree-lined streets, particularly Woods Avenue and particularly Hillside Drive. Those tree-lined streets create the character of School Lane Hills and Hamilton Park. We want to keep that character. We're sympathetic to the idea that having tree-lined streets creates more work. We understand, you'll have trimming. You don't want certain trees that are above a certain height. But the way you've put together these new implementations of where trees can be planted doesn't allow for trees to be planted in between the sidewalk and the street. Let me give you an example. This is on your tree page. Grass strips within the right-of-way must be a minimum of 5 feet in width to allow for any planting. Trees and shrubs in grass strips along sidewalks and streets require 2.5 feet radius from the obstructions in addition to the above requirements. This is the only instance where less than a 5-foot clearance from impervious surfaces is permitted, and it will limit the species of trees eligible for planting. I live on Wheatland, and my green space between the road and the sidewalk is about 4 feet. I don't know any sidewalk that has 5 feet of grass. And I walk around the area quite a bit. I love the fact that I can go as a person who is melanin compromised and take a walk around and enjoy the trees and enjoy the streets. And people come to our area and they love it because it looks so beautiful. We just want to make sure that those trees on Hillside, the trees on Woods, the trees that now decorate our neighborhood in that space can be replaced if they die. I have had 3 major trees, probably over 100 years old, die in the last 5 years from various insects and whatever. The trees are going. We want to replace them. We want to keep that vibe that's so special to us. And so, yes, canopy, we love the canopy. That's not our issue. Our issue is the right of way. So if you have 4 feet of green space, you have 3 feet of sidewalk, and then you say it's got to be another 5 feet from the impermeable surface, you're already at 12 feet in to the yard. How are we going to have the tree-lined streets? You're going to have massive trees be planted in order to get those tree-lined streets, and that's not going to happen. So really, we want to retain what Bill was saying was so magical about this place. And, we don't think it's unreasonable to ask for the costs. I know Devin really takes good care of Lancaster Township, and we'd like to know the costs of, the routes into the sewer lines and things like that. What's the trade-off here? We'd like the information. We've been working for the last 2 years back and forth, and we created a trifold, and we sent it in, and all the things about the right-of-way were changed. Again, to eliminate trees in the right-of-way. If you take a walk down Hillside, and Lancaster Township 30 years ago tried to get rid of all those, I think they're linden trees on Hillside, and the community said no. Or maybe they're sycamore, I can't remember, but they came to a compromise of how they could build in the curves. We're willing to compromise. We're willing to build sidewalks around trees if need be. But don't take away the trees that form a canopy. It's what's really special. So I'd like to ask that in the agenda for next month, that we have discussion about the trees and the right-of-way. That's what we've been talking about for the last 2 years. And I just think it's ingenuous that this talk about the canopy is there, because that is.
If I may, you weren't at our December meeting, and this presentation was directed specifically at a separate group that was here to discuss tree canopy.
Okay, sorry, I thought it was my group.
No, it was. This
Okay.
was a whole separate issue.
Apologies.
Yeah. So we're on board with you. I see where you're coming from, and we could.
Well, I would say your comment with regard to your suggestions about the trifold, we've returned that back to Ernie Shriver, who's foisted himself as a spokesperson for the group, for instance, and we sent that back to him, and we never heard another thing. And I think perhaps you haven't stayed up to date with what the group did that met last summer.
Oh, no, I talked to Ernie just a couple days ago. He couldn't be here tonight because he had another agenda item.
Okay, well, that just doesn't seem to, there seems to be a disconnect between some of the assertions you've made in our position with regard to all the issues you've talked about, and the way that we've kind of adjusted and adopted in response to what the group has provided. So, again, this is where it gets confusing for us. We've heard everybody out. We've adjusted our policies and procedures to accommodate them. We've tried to convey that to a bunch of different groups and a bunch of different individuals, and then we keep coming back to the same request, which we think we've already satisfied and or explained. So,
But how does your policy, as is, I just quoted from the website, how does that address the right-of-way?
like you said, we've talked about this for 2 years, and I don't know if I want to adjudicate all of it tonight, but I'm happy to go in detail as to the recommendations for a 5-foot planting strip for most of the larger trees that you're talking about. Is a recommendation directly from the Ag Extension for the health of trees. So when we're talking about the appropriate placement of a tree, we're using the resources that your group and other groups have provided to us. And so it's hard to hear that you're taking issue with that recommendation now. It's the recommendation y'all provided.
Was the
It's
trifold
an
that you're
optimal-
discussing the one that the tree committee put together last summer?
Yes.
Maybe it's not. Maybe it's a disconnect between different groups of the tree people who want different things. I don't. Is that common?
Yeah, because there are several tree-oriented or loosely related groups and some overlapping people, but
Great.
the request for the tree canopy
Yeah.
came from a group that I'm not clear who they are. I think you had the impression that it came from the climate people, but it didn't. It came from, I thought it was from Dennis's and
Would it,
Atkins Avenue and Wheatland Avenue people.
would it be possible for all of you to get together and talk
No.
about it and then
That-
come back
because
to us?
There are too many people involved and different focuses, and.
Would it be possible for my group to get together with you all? Because that would
Well, I'm
stop,
thinking-
I don't know who the other group
I'm
is, I
kind
have
of-
no idea.
Well, that's the answer. It seems that there are multiple tree groups and we're all talking over each other. But if you got together with them and you all figured it out and came back to us, I mean, we spent a good amount of time last summer on this trifold. I don't know what to do at this point because I'm trying to figure out who's saying what.
We can't have trees planted in front of stop signs. We can't have trees.
Absolutely.
We can't have trees planted over certain utilities.
No,
mean,
I understand that, and our
I
group
think our
understands
approach
that.
is reasonable in that regard, and we've made it clear, I think, in this room and many other rooms that if there's not an appropriate place to put a tree, let me put it this way. If it's appropriate to put a tree in the planting strip, we'll entertain that. And we've heard loud and clear the recommendations to utilize root barriers, to make sure it's appropriately placed outside clear site triangles. Devin has made himself available. We've demonstrated with maps on different properties where some places it might be appropriate to put it in the planting strip, but often not. And so we're not dogmatic about any of this. We are open to the idea of making sure the trees go in a place that's healthy for the tree and safe for the residents. We're open to all that. And we continue to be, so.
If I may, I'm just think there's a disconnect because I heard you say you're really concerned about the diameter and the 5-foot item, but then at the end of your statement, I heard you say that you're okay with putting the sidewalk out and around the trees. That's exactly what we're trying to tell the residents is that if you want to plant a tree in a place that doesn't have a stop sign and isn't in a clear site triangle, and isn't over a utility, but you have a 2-foot grass strip, you need to redesign your sidewalk to allow for that tree to have the proper space it needs to grow so that it can become a big, beautiful street tree. And if we're not articulating that right in the handbook, then that's what I heard you say. So I think that maybe that's the disconnect.
Can I work with you in redefining the
Yeah.
trifold so make it more clear? As an English professor, I was kind of horrified by how it came together. So I would like to make it clearer and.
Yeah.
Yes. But the frustrating thing is, we did that, and then someone came in like 6 months later and said, we don't like it, we want to revise it again.
Yep.
And then we just sent Ernie the latest revision based on your comments, and then I'm hearing you say that that's still not good enough. So
I don't know that she's seen that. I didn't send it to her. I don't know if she's seen the
I
stuff
don't
I
know
sent
if
to
Ernie,
Ernie.
she said you saw, I don't know if Ernie shared that with you or not, but
Well, I gave Ernie back comments on the one that came back probably 2 weeks ago, and that including Rachel Carson, so I thought you must have seen my comments because
No.
Rachel
No,
Carson
no.
came on that? Okay, so maybe you haven't gotten.
No.
Can we get together and talk about it and do some revisions?
I'll happily give you my information and get a hold of me and we can
Okay.
talk.
And-
Thank you.
And then we can maybe
Yep.
make it clear, because what we want is the ability to have the trees arch over the roads, like Hillside and like Woods Avenue, and we don't want the trees to be unable to replace the trees if they die.
And I gotta say, it's really illuminating to hear you both say that, like, there are multiple groups and they don't communicate, because from our perspective, we see the same people on the petitions, the same names on the petitions, we see the same names in certain groups, and it's frustrating for us to tell somebody something and then for us to assume that the other folks know, only to find out that there are, what I'm hearing tonight, groups that don't communicate or coordinate.
Yeah, no, I'll talk to you after the meeting.
Okay.
To see if we can clarify which groups are doing what, and maybe you can join that, because,
That would be great.
That would be really helpful. Thank you.
Okay.
and
Thank
I
you so
just had a
much.
really quick question, which is this available online?
No.
Could it be?
When I get it to the point that I have confidence in all the information in an organized and detailed way, I'm happy to share it here and elsewhere. I did this tonight because, again, in December, there was kind of a feeling like we weren't doing anything. And I had said that we've been doing some work, but, you know, it's gonna take a little bit of time. So I wanted to demonstrate at least that some work's been done and
But
continuing to
yeah,
be
no,
done.
this is really responsive to, I think, some of the issues, and part of that is if we don't see this, then just saying you're doing stuff isn't as meaningful. But when you present something like this, it's clear that things are happening behind the scenes.
Yeah, and again, from what you've seen tonight, if you go back and watch it on the videotape, if you go, well, that doesn't seem right, or this should be evaluated by some other standard, it's still a work in progress. Share whatever you want to share, but I don't want anyone to think that like this is nowhere near the final product. Okay, thanks.
All right, announcements. Monday, February 16th, 2026 is a holiday for President's Day. The township office will be closed. Tuesday, February 17th, Planning Commission meeting here at 1240 Maple Avenue at 7 p.m. Tuesday, February 24th, 7 p.m. Zoning Hearing Board meeting here at 1240 Maple Ave. And our next supervisors meeting is March 9th, 2026 at 6 p.m. here at 1240 Maple Avenue. No old business, planning and zoning.
Mr. Chair, LTPC 319 Taco Bell financial security reduction request. I'd make a motion that we approve a request from Columbia Avenue Investors LLC for release of financial security for a Taco Bell land development plan, but only reduce the amount of the required financial security by $457,826.60 to a new amount of $80,000.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Mr. Chair, I make a motion, excuse me. Yeah, I make a motion, sorry, to approve a request from Stephen Gergley, Harbor Engineering, Inc. for a reduction of the financial security for the borough's elementary school land development. Township Engineer Ben Weber recommended the amount of the required financial security be reduced by $772,753.62 to a new amount of $1,256,466.52.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Mr. Chair, LTPC 338 Lancaster Township Wabank Road Municipal Campus Stormwater Management Site Plan, making a motion to approve stormwater management site plan, including waivers and modifications for the Lancaster Township Wabank Road Municipal Campus.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 LTPC 3339, Comet Field Telecommunications Towers for Management Site Plan Modification Request. I make a motion that we approve a stormwater management site plan modification request of section 229-21 for the Comet Field Telecommunications Tower, allowing the project to be processed as a minor land disturbance permit.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 LTPC 316 Parikh Popeyes Land Development Plan. I'd make a motion that we act to approve a land development plan for Parikh Popeyes.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 LTPC 335 Lancaster Township Public Works Facility Land Development Plan. I'm going to make a motion that we approve a land development plan, including waivers and modifications for the Lancaster Township Public Works Facility. The Lancaster Township Planning Commission recommended the Board of Supervisors approve this land development plan, including waivers and modifications conditioned upon Township Engineer Ben Weber's review letter dated December 31st, 2025.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Moving on to new business.
Mr. Chair, Resolution 2026-03, certification of uncollected real estate taxes in 2025. I'd make a motion that we approve Resolution 2026-03, certifying which taxes were levied, municipal, school, county, the whole or part of which taxes were due and payable in the calendar year 2025 and which remain unpaid.
I'll second that.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Resolution 2026-04, certification of uncollected real estate taxes from September 2024 to December interim. I'll make a motion that we approve the resolution 2026-04, certifying which taxes were levied, municipal, school, and county taxes, the whole or any part of which taxes were due and payable from September 2024 to December interim, and which remain unpaid.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Mr. Chair, contractor bid results for Public Works Facility Project. I would make a motion that we reject all submitted bids as the lowest bid exceeds the budget for the project.
If there's a second, I would welcome some discussion.
Second.
Discuss.
Discuss.
So, if you will indulge me for a few minutes. The police building came in at $1.1 million. We had a number of folks who bid on being the construction manager, architect, and site design firm for that. And of those, Buchart Horn nailed the number on the dot. So when it came time to do the public works facility, those are the folks that we wanted to use. And I have to say that the process with them has been wonderful. They've been easy to work with. They've been super professional. Internally, the staff has done a good job. But as we've gone through this process over the last 12 months, we've seen, and at least I've seen, and been concerned about how some other bids have come in. And I think I've shared that with you, and we've talked about this internally. The school district's numbers from, building the new middle school at Wheatland are radically different than when their last big construction project here in the township. Ben and I have both served on the LASA board, and what was supposed to be an $80 million project, 36 months ago is now $120 million, and maybe more.
A little higher. Yeah.
So there's something strange going on with public projects here in the region. I think probably it's a combination of things. There are some significant labor increases. This is the last year that anyone can spend ARPA money, and there are, all over the Commonwealth, there are folks trying to spend that money before it goes away at the end of this calendar year. And I think there's some uncertainty in the economy as it comes to material, especially material that needs to be imported from other countries, whether it's steel from Japan or lumber from Canada. And we're all subject to one mean tweet from prices going through the roof. And I think all that stuff factors into the ability of these contractors to be able to give us a firm bid, because through the public process, they're beholden to no more than a 10% increase, and that's just the way it is. And so I think these folks, between being busy and being uncertain, are throwing big numbers. And a lot of municipalities are happy to say, well, what are you going to do? It's not my money. But the philosophy that we've had here is, yeah, it's not our money.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're recommending as a staff, sadly, because we've made a very good argument for why we need this new building, but I think it would be too bold to say what I was going to say. I would advise against accepting any of the bids at this point, with the hope that when things stabilize, both in terms of the ARPA funding and material costs, that we might be able to realize, even if it's $1 million, it's $1 million of taxpayer dollars.
Mm-hmm.
So we've talked internally, it's less than optimal, but we can survive at the current site. We're gonna have to outsource some work, we're gonna have to make some smaller improvements. But I think that we're talking a difference between initial estimate of 4 million bumped up to a realistic, what we thought was a realistic and conservative $6 million estimate, to the lowest bid coming in at $9.2 million. And so, as disappointed as we might be, I'm going to ask that we go back to the drawing board and come back to you with another alternative sometime in the next 18 to 24 months.
Well, it's been moved and seconded to reject the submitted bids. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Appointment of acting chief of police, I'll make a motion that we appoint
Sergeant
Chief-
Seibel.
Sergeant Seibel as acting chief of police for Lancaster Township Police Department.
Second that.
I just want to make a comment, Chief. One of the discussions that I had a couple of months ago regarding immigration enforcement.
Yes.
One of the things that your predecessor and I discussed with our manager here is that immigration enforcement is not our job. And it is our expectation that our police department will in no way, shape, or form be conducting any immigration enforcement.
Understood.
Thank you.
Okay. Been moved and seconded to appoint an acting chief of police, Sergeant Seibel. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you.
Thank you. The fun part of the evening, guest recognition and participation. This is the point in the evening. If you have any non-agenda items that you'd like to speak to or ask questions of, please feel free to come up to the podium, state your name and address. Seeing none, we are adjourned.